My husband Brad and I had never heard of metachromatic leukodystrophy before our daughter Liviana and son Giovanni were diagnosed in December 2010. Giovanni was just 11 months old, and his 3-year-old sister's symptomatic diagnosis led to him being tested and diagnosed. Just 3 weeks later, we were in Milan, Italy, where Giovanni was the second child in the world to undergo gene therapy for MLD in February 2011. At the time of diagnosis, we already had witnessed Liviana, our once vibrant, hilarious, beautiful daughter, regressing in abilities at a startling pace. Our child, who started walking at 11 months old, suddenly struggled to walk across a room, scooting on the ground instead. Her early and impressive vocabulary was dwindling rapidly, and nights became restless and filled with tears rather than a toddler sleeping peacefully in bed. We are often asked, how did you decide to go to Italy with so much unknown and the potential risks? We knew painfully the risk of doing nothing, the potential of seeing our son gradually lose every learned milestone, losing the sound of his voice, and knowing that we, my husband and I, and our 2 older children, would not only lose Liviana, but also Giovanni. Of course, as a former researcher, I thoroughly read the medical literature. I sought to understand all I could about gene therapy and asked questions of our local physician and the doctors in Milan. What I learned reinforced our decision that the only certainty would be the outcome of not treating Giovanni, which is certain death. The potential gene therapy risk includes sterility, leukemia, HIV infection during conditioning, were all less terrifying and absolute than the risk of untreated late infantile MLD. After returning home from Milan in June 2011, Giovanni was a normal 1-year-old outside of his hair growing back and his implanted port. We never had a single physical or medical complication or difficulty during or following his gene therapy. He has never had motor skill deficits or delays. At 12 years old, Giovanni has never shown any symptoms of MLD. The difficulty of our experience with Giovanni's gene therapy was the practical, logistical, and psychological. It was relocating our family to Milan, Italy for 6 months, missed work, financial burden and stress, cultural and language barriers, stress, fear of the unknown, which will never go away, and the follow-up visits, where you relive it all over again.
This is Giovanni. I'm 12 years old. It is strange to hear when my mom talks about MLD, because I just feel like a normal 12-year-old kid. I was a baby when I went through gene therapy. I've looked at photos, heard stories, and feel like I remember that time and visits back, but it may just be because we talk about it a lot, and that becomes my memories. I like to play games online with my friends, hang out at their houses, play with my cats, and sometimes play games with my siblings. We like to go watch the sunset and go camping with my dad too. My mom says I am a natural leader, so I guess she is right. I always organize my friends and schedule our calls or online meetings, name our teams, create logos, and make sure that everyone is following the rules. I like to draw, and I am pretty good at it, but don't do it all the time. I don't like to see people unkind or hurting other people's feelings. Life is too short for that. I remember my sister Liviana through stories and pictures too. I had gene therapy and she couldn't because she had already had MLD. We had lots of pictures of her and her old stuffed animals. We talk about her all the time. My parents told me that Liviana said I was her best friend. I think it is sad that my best friend isn't here anymore. It is hard to understand why she could not have had gene therapy too. and be here like a normal kid too. She would be starting high school this year, and that would have been so cool. Gene therapy changed my life because, well, I am here. Without gene therapy, my parents would only have photos and memories of me, just like my sister. And that makes me sad to think about. I think I am going to do some amazing things in my life, and the world would have missed Giovanni Price if it wasn't for gene therapy. For me, there isn't a gray area with MLD and gene therapy. We lost my sister at 5 years old, and here I am thriving and enjoying my 12th year of life. My hope for the future is to have an impact on the world through my experience with MLD and gene therapy. I plan to be a leader who will have the capacity to do everything I set my mind to do.